Shri Gurubhyo Namah Harihi Om Dhyayamo Dhavalavagunthanavatim Tejomayim Naishtikim Snigdhapangavilokinim Bhagavatim Mandasmita Shremukhim Vatsalyamritavarshinim Sumadhuram Sankirtanalapinim Shyamangim Madhusikta Suktim Amritanandatmikam Ishwarim Om Amriteshwaryai Namah Om Amriteshwaryai Namah Om Amriteshwaryai Namah. Om Amriteshwaryai Namah. Let us continue with our discussion on Bhaja Govindam. So far, we have discussed until the 25th verse, and the last week we discussed the 24th and the 25th. So as is the tradition, let's quickly go over each of the verse, just discussing the gist of every verse. So to begin with, the first verse was about developing devotion to go beyond the so-called technicalities and the rules and the grammars that we have set for life, to go beyond that and look at life more realistically. Second one, to overcome greed, to overcome the tendency to accumulate wealth and always exercise dharma. Third verse was about overcoming unnecessary obsession about our physical appearance. Go beyond that. Understand the impermanence of that. The fourth verse was about how life itself is unpredictable in nature and we should be prepared for any form of surprise that we may have in any form in life. The fifth one was about how we would have following and all forms of praise, etc., as long as we have abilities and wealth. Once that depletes, even the following goes down. The sixth one was about as long as there remains life in this body, we will have regards that would be given to us. People would regard us. Once that is gone, they would consider us. Once that is gone, automatically people will start forgetting about us. It's just the natural flow. The seventh verse is about the various phases of life, how we are obsessed with different things in different phases of life. Never do we get time to actually focus on what we need to focus on, the unchanging truth, the supreme. The eighth verse was about the limitations of relationship, and that leads us to the question, who am I? And we discussed about it back then. The ninth verse, now that we are beginning to go on or thinking of going in the right path to grow spiritually, where does it start? Starts with right company. Right company takes us towards detachment that helps us overcome delusion, and thus the truth would be revealed to us. The 10th verse is about a reminder again that all that we hold significant at one point of time, it's a later point of time, it's not going to remain significant. So try to understand the impermanent nature. The 11th verse, now that we understand the impermanent nature, why take unnecessary pride in things that we possess, etc. All those are going to go at some point of time. So wealth, people, the youthfulness, abilities, all of them are going to change. The 12th verse, how life throws at us dual experiences of both kind, and least are we dragged to each of the extremes of the emotions of the situations in life, the better we would do in life. The 13th verse, again stressing on good company, and we discussed about the company of a Mahatma, which alone, or which is the primary thing that would take us across the ocean of samsara, the ocean of transmigration. The 14th verse was about, now as we think of growing spiritually, the growth should not be outwardly, should not be a show off. Rather, our growth should be the natural one that happens inside, and that organically shows outside. The 15th and 16th verses remind us of desires. Whatever we lose our abilities, we lose our wealth, we lose people, we lose everything. Still, we don't lose our grip on desire. We still hold on to it tight. So the 15th and 16th verses are basically reminding us, let go of it. 17th verse about austerities and rituals. Of course, they are prescribed for us to grow spiritually. They are the guiding light, the initial stages of our spiritual growth. Eventually, we need to go beyond that, not hold on to it meaninglessly. The 18th verse was about dispassion, how when we have dispassion, when we develop dispassion, whatever kind of situation we are in, good or bad, it will only give us happiness. All such situations will only give us happiness. Similarly, the 19th verse, when we have our mind focused on the Supreme, we cannot help but just rejoice and rejoice all the moment of our life. 20th verse, reminding us to imbibe the principles of everything, be it the Bhagavad Gita or the scriptural texts, be it things around us, what Mother Nature teaches us, like River Ganga, and focus on the divine. The 21st verse is about reminding us how we are stuck because of our desires. We just come back again and again, take birth to burn out our karma. So we are in that vicious cycle. We need to go beyond by overcoming our attachments. 22nd verse defines who a true yogi is, to one who takes the least and gives the most. And such people are not very easily comprehensible by just rationally thinking about it or thinking about them. 23rd verse, again raising the question. We are continuing that topic, 23rd, 24th, and 25th, and today the 26th. 25th, the question is, try to understand who we really are. Rather than just thinking about it superficially, try to understand from the level we are in. We are attached to so many things, and we recognize ourselves with respect to things and people around us. Try to go beyond that. The 24th and 25th was trying to impress upon us. Now we try to understand our true self, realize the one that is within us is the one within everything. Look at the divine in everything. And that's where we ended the last time. And we were coming on to the topic of equanimity, equipoised mind. And that's when we decided we'll discuss that during the 26th verse that we are going into today. So 23rd, 24th, 25, and 26, more or less discuss on the same topic to understand who we are, and to more importantly, to understand who we are not. That's what we have been discussing the last 2 weeks, and we are continuing with that. Who are we not? So the 26th verse goes as Kamam, Krodham, Lobham, Moham, Tyaktvatmanam, Pashyati Soham, Atmajnana Vihina Mudha, Te Pachyante Narakanigudha. So let's go over it word by word, looking into the pronunciation, thereafter the meaning. So first, we'll pronounce each of the word. I'll lead the pronunciation. Please respond twice after me. Kamam, Kamam, Kamam. A with a bar, so it is ka. Had it been without a bar, it would be kamam. Here it is kamam. Krodham, dh, so it is dha, the stress. Krodham, Krodham, Krodham. Lobham, again bh, so it is bha, bh, bha. Lobham, Lobham, Lobham. Moham, Moham, Moham. Kamam, Krodham, Lobham, Moham. Tyaktvatmanam pashyati soham. So word by word. Tyaktva. So it is T-Y-A-K, tyak, T-V-A, twa. Tyaktva, 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 Tyaktva. Atmanam, Atmanam, Atmanam. So it is Tyaktva and Atmanam together. So it would become Tyaktvatmanam. 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 Pashyati. S with the mark on the top. So flat tongue. Sh. Pashyati. 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 Next word is Soham. Soham could be split into Sah and Aham. Sah, Aham. Together would be Soham. 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 Tyaktvatmanam pashyati soham. Third line. Atma jnana vihina mudha. So, word by word. Atma. 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 Jnana. Usually we have a J-N-Y, J-N-A, N-A, right? N with the tilde over it. So that we just have the pronunciation right, I change it to G because it is G and then Nya, Na, Jnana, 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 Jnana. I think the easiest way to understand that would be Jnana, like jalapeno, Nya. Try to produce that sound from the throat. Jna, Jna, Jnana. So Atma Jnana, Atma Jnana, Atma Jnana. Vihina. The first I without a bar, the second I with a bar. So Vihina. Had both of them had a bar, it would be Vihina. Had none of them had a bar, it would be Vihina. The first one has a bar without a bar, the second one has a bar. So it is Vihina. 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 Mudha. D with a dot below, so rolling your tongue up. Da. And there is a H that follows, it becomes Da. Mudha. 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 Te. So the third line is Atma Jnana Vihina Mudha. Then fourth line, Te. 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 Pachyante. 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 Naraka. 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 Nigudha. Again D with a dot below and a H. So Da. Da. Nigudha. 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 Had the U been without a bar, it would be Nigudha. Because it is a U with a bar, so it is Nigudha. Nigudha. Te pachyante naraka nigudha. So the 26th verse is Kamam Krodham Lobham Moham Tyaktvatmanam Pashyati Soham Atmajnana Vihina Mudha Te Pachyante Naraka Nigudha. So let's do it in tune twice. First time, please join me if you are familiar with it. Else, join me the second time. Kamam Krodham Lobham Moham Tyaktvatmanam Pashyati Soham Atmajnana Vihina Mudha Te Pachyante Naraka Nigudha. Once more. Kamam Krodham Lobham Moham Tyaktvatmanam Pashyati Soham Atmajnana Vihina Mudha Te Pachyante Naraka Nigudha. So what does the verse tell us? It says kamam, krodham, lobham, moham. Kamam, lust, uncontrollable attraction, uncontrollable pull towards something. Krodham, anger, unable to control our emotions. Lobham, greed, unabating desire to accumulate. And moham, delusion, just being in an untruthful or unreal, sorry, not untruthful, unreal world that isn't true the way we look at it. So being delusioned and full of desires, that's what creation delusion. So kamam, krodham, lobham, moham, the four negative qualities, tyaktvatmanam pashyati soham. Tyaktva, relinquishing it, letting go of it. Atmanam, the self, referring to this self, in the self. Pashyati, see. To see what? Soham, to see the idea, so to see in the self the idea of soham, sah, he, aham, me, sah, aham, soham. To see within yourself, to see in the self that I am he, I am she, I am them, I am that, everything, thou art that. So, to let go of the negativities and see within you that I am same with everyone else and everything else. Atma jnana, Atma, the self, jnana, wisdom. Atma jnana, the wisdom of about the self, the knowledge about the self. Vihina, lacking it. Mudha, mudha, the foolish one. So one who lacks the knowledge of the self, one who lacks this very knowledge that I am one with everyone, that's my true self. One who lacks that knowledge, the foolish one, te, such people, pachyante. Pachyante, to literally translate, it would be to get cooked, or to otherwise we could translate it as getting tormented or getting entangled in what? Naraka, in hell. Nigudha, in hell, which is completely incomprehensible. That is very difficult to understand. So one who lacks that knowledge about the true self ever is tormenting in this unexplicable, ununderstandable world, which is hellish in nature. So to summarize, the verse points out to us the negativities that we usually or typically have, and the importance of letting go of the negativities. Kama, krodha, lobha, moha. Lust, anger, greed, and delusioned desire. How these negativities, they kind of cover up, they shroud our true potential. They are the ones that inhibit us from growing. So we need to renounce them. That's the very primary point put forth here. When we are trying to, in our journey, when we are trying to find our true self, what inhibits us from doing that? The negativities in us, which comes out of our ego. So renounce them. That's when we can tap our true potential. Unless and until we renounce them, unless and until we understand our true self, renouncing them, we are in a state of foolishness, and we get entangled in this hell that we ourselves create. Hell is not something that is there. It is what we create. So in the hell that we ourselves create, we are entangled and stuck in that. So the verse starts with kama, krodha, lobha, moha. There are four negative qualities mentioned here. Typically, they are mentioned in a group of 6. They are known as the Shad Ripu, or the Arishad Varga. Shad refers to the number 6. Ripu translates, in Sanskrit, it translates to enemies, to the 6 enemies. Shad Ripu. Or they are known as Ari Shad Varga. Ari, foe, enemy. Shad, 6, Varga, categories. So the enemies in 6 categories, or enemies of 6 types. So what are those enemies? The 6: Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. We concluded the last discussion, the 24th and 25th verse, with the discussion of the verse from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, right? We discussed the verse, Uddharet Atmanatmanam na Atmanam avasadhayet Atmaiva Hyatmano Bandhu Atmaiva Ripuratmana. The next verse. This is what we discussed the last week, right? We discussed that we need to uplift, we need to elevate our own self through our own self, nothing else, no other means. If we need to raise ourselves, we are the means through which we can do that, not through someone or something. We are ourselves responsible for that, and not letting the self degrade. And the second line of the verse says, Atmaiva Hyatmano Bandhu. Who is your best friend? Who is the best support for yourself? Your own self. And who is your worst enemy? Atmaiva Ripuratmana. Who is your worst enemy? Your own self. So this is what we are getting to with Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha. They are known as the Ari Shadvarga, or the Shadripu, the 6 foes, or the enemies of 6 categories, or enemies of 6 type. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha. So who are our enemies? Not that person in the satsang who always troubles me, or not that person at work, not my boss who always gives me trouble at work. They are just superficial enemies. Who are our real enemies? Our own self. When you say our own self, if we let our self, we let our mind be the breeding ground for negativities, we ourselves are our worst enemy. So if we let these Shadvargas, the 6 enemies, grow, that's where all the problems arise. So what are the 6 enemies? Kama, lust; Krodha, anger; Lobha, greed; Moha, delusioned by our desires; Mada, to have arrogance or unnecessary pride that we take in things, wrongfully taking pride and being arrogant about things that we have; Matsarya, a sense of competitiveness, sense of dissatisfaction, and always comparing it with others; jealousy, envy, all of them come under Matsarya. So if these 6 things, we help them breed within us, we are creating hell for our own selves. Wherever we are, whatever best place we are in, even if we are in Amritapuri, if we let, Amma herself mentions that every now and then, if we let the negativities in us brew, even if we are in Amritapuri, we are not going to find any peace of mind, because we need to prepare ourselves to be receptive of the good environment that we are in. So we need to overcome these negativities, is what this verse is trying to underscore. So one common thing with all these 6 qualities or negative qualities that we are talking about: lust, anger, greed, desire, pride, arrogance, competitiveness, comparison, jealousy, envy. What is common in all these? There is one common thing, or there are 2 common things with all these. What is common is our ego, and 2, myself. When we think of myself alone and relate everything to my ego, all these things are bound to happen. So what is the culprit? It is just to think from my point of view, to be self-centric is where all these come forth. We hear about confessions made by criminals, we hear in the news, etc., right? In fit of rage, or in the spur of the moment, I committed the crime, is what the criminal would say. I was overcome by lust, so I abused someone. I was overcome by anger, so I hurt someone, or I killed someone, or I abducted someone. I was overcome by greed, and not realizing. So when you say I was overcome by my greed, it's not realizing that we already have what we need. Our own true self, we have the potential to keep ourselves satisfied, because we refuse to realize that we have greed about accumulating more and more external things. To not realize our own true potential is what moha is, to be delusioned. We think I will be happy only when I have 3 cars, or if I'll be happy only if I have 3 cars, all 3 of them Mercedes Benz. I'll be happy only if I have 9 rooms in my house. All these are delusioned way of thinking. It's not true. If we are forced to, sometimes we would be quite happy even with 2-bedroom house. Just that we create that imaginative world around us and we live in that imaginative world. That is what is moha, delusioned. Matsarya, to be dissatisfied with your own self. We could always be satisfied with just with ourselves, because we think I am dissatisfied with myself and I want to be like him or her. I want to be better than him or her. That's when Matsarya kicks in. So the point here is, when we are trying to think in terms of my ego, that's when all these problems take shape and we help them breed within us and they create problems for us. So we shouldn't be, when we talk about Malsarya, another example I had made note of is when you say, I take pride in my house. Say, look at my big house, look at my expensive car. Of course, it may be true, but again, what we were discussing the last week and the week before is all these are impermanent. We need to understand taking pride in them is of no use. Rather, why don't we take pride in our own self? We always forget to do that. We definitely take pride and look at my iPhone 14. I am the first to get it. Or look at my mansion-like house. We never take pride in our own self. That's what we refer to as self-confidence. Take pride in your own self. Why take pride in the things you have? Rather, take pride in who I truly am. We forget to do that all the time. Isn't it so obvious that we should be doing? Taking pride in our own self. That is true self-confidence that spirituality talks about. So, when you say Matsarya, when you talk about pride, rather take pride in your own self, not forgetting yourself, rather completely encompassing yourself. So the root cause of all this is to think self-centrically, to think in terms of our ego. What do I get? What do I do? How do I get affected? How do I benefit from this? What do I lose? Everything in terms of, so anything that we experience in life, our natural question within us is going to be like that. How am I going to get affected? How do I lose this? Or how do I do this? What am I going to get from this? What will people think of me? Everything it will be about me and I. Rather, we need to let go of it, is what the later part of the verse says. It says, I am the same as he. I am the same as she. I am as the same as they. In which case, anything that happens, I'll always be satisfied, is the basic logic. That's what we see in Mahatmas like Amma. And when we more think about what do I get, me, I, me, my, of course we get into trouble in many situations in life. And this is where we ended last week's discussion. We were discussing that the last week, the 24th verse specifically talks about equipoised mind, to be equanimous, to have equanimity. And that's verily the point that we are getting to. Rather than getting obsessed with what I get, what I don't get, and because of that we get worked up in situations, rather try to just let go of it. When we let go of it, we become equipoised minded. We become equanimous. We are least bothered, or we are least torn apart by the emotion of the situation. We discussed this topic in Bhagavad Gita chapter 2 when we were discussing it a few months ago. We discussed chapter 2 verse 14 and 15. The verse 14 goes as Matra sparshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkhada agama payino nitya tam stitikshasva bharata. Lord Krishna tells Arjuna, all the experiences that we have are through the contact of our senses. So all the emotions that we build is all through our senses, the inputs that we get through our senses, be it cold, warmth, happiness, sorrow, and all such dual experiences. So these experiences, once you need to understand, they are anitya, they are impermanent in nature. And understanding that they are impermanent in nature, tam stitikshasva bharata. Understanding that they are impermanent in nature, just don't escape them, just forbear them, face them with whole might. Spirituality is for not those who are trying to escape life, rather those who have the courage to face life. So spirituality is for them. So 14th verse was trying to put forth that. And the 15th verse goes as Yam hina vyathayantyete purusham purusharshabha samadukha sukham dhiram somrtatvaya kalpate. And Lord Krishna continues telling, O Arjuna, O Purusharshabha, O the mighty ones among the mighty, Yam hina vyathayante, those who do not get tormented by these kind of experiences, those who do not get affected by these experiences, who are they? They are the ones who are sama, dukkha, sukham, dhiram. They are the courageous ones who ever remain sama, they ever remain equipoised, they ever remain calm, both in good and bad situations. Such people are amritatvaya kalpate. They are defined, or they are designated for liberation. So to summarize these two verses, going with the equipoised mind topic, what do the 14th and the 15th verses of Bhagavad Gita that we just discussed convey? They say, people, things, everything around us, they would give us dual experiences. Everyone, everything will always give us good and bad experiences. There is no one thing that gives only good experiences. Even with Amma, sometimes people are upset, oh, Amma didn't look at me. Oh, Amma is leaving. Amma is not staying in the US forever. She's going back to India. People feel sad. When we look at Amma just as a limited person, physical entity, a 5 feet body, we will be forced into such emotions. But when we look at Amma, who's beyond the 5 feet body, that's when we truly get the real experience that we need to get from a Mahatma. So as long as we think from only our senses, we get two experiences, good and bad, from everything around us. We get two experiences. The second point, it says, when we get these experiences, there's no point escaping them. Rather, face those experiences. Have the courage to face those experiences. Third one, how do we build up that courage to face experiences? Try to understand they are all impermanent in nature, so they are going to go. So that would make it easy for us to face those experiences. So one, all and everything will give us dual experiences. Two, we need to endure them. We need to face them with our might. Three, understand all these experiences are impermanent in nature. And four, one who faces these experiences and remains equipoised is the one who gets liberated. These are the 4 points mentioned in these two verses. When we discuss about this, the equipoised mind, you may have heard me mention this a few number of times now, but it's very well worth to refresh on those points. When we are talking about being an equipoised mind, when we get extremely happy, excited about something, say our favorite team wins the Super Bowl, or the favorite team wins the cricket World Cup, or wins the soccer World Cup, how would be our reaction? We'll be screaming and jumping and jubilating and hugging people, and, celebrate in all different many ways. But the question remains, how long would we celebrate? We may celebrate the very evening that, or the day that the team won the game. Maybe the next day when we meet our friends at work, at school, we may celebrate with them. Maybe a day after too, we may be discussing about the game and feeling happy. But after third or fourth day, we are not going to be still celebrating. If we keep celebrating even after that, people will think we are crazy. because it's just natural to forget about it. So even that good experience was impermanent in nature. Similarly, say we face a dire situation in life, including, say, one of our dear and near ones passes away. We don't keep crying about it throughout our life. It's just natural that the mind heals and we get over it. And even that is impermanent in nature. Being in sorrow is also impermanent in nature. So both these experiences are impermanent in nature. So one who realizes or one who understands the impermanence with all these experiences will be able to handle them better. And that's the example Mahatmas like Amma give us. They very well understand that every experience in life is impermanent. That's why they are able to live ever in an equipoised state. I'm just reminded of an example that very recently, an incident that just very recently happened. It actually happened 5 years ago, and the second part of it happened just a week ago. I remember in 2017, one of the devotees, she was a student, and she was doing doing her course in a university here in the US, one of the cities, and she was very upset that she got a B+ in one of the courses that she took, and she just couldn't come in terms with getting a B+. She was so upset that she didn't get an A, and she was crying and very upset by it. So I was trying to discuss with her, reason it out on how or why be so upset with a B+. Of course, you could have very well tried for an A, not that you should settle for a B+, but all this should have happened before the exam. But once after the exam, even if you may have given your best, if it was to be like this B+, we have to accept it. We have to develop that attitude. So I just mentioned to her, 5 years from now, will you still cry about this B+? And then she said, yes, I'll be very upset about this B+. So I took my phone, I set a reminder telling 2022, May, a particular date. I'm setting a reminder and I'm going to ask the same question to you, wherever you are. I'm going to ask this question to you, are you upset with the B+? And I did that last week. I got the reminder on my phone and I asked that person, are you upset about the B+ that you got in 2017? The person first asked, which B+? And then she's like, oh yeah, the B+, I don't care about it. The response was, though she didn't particularly say that, the response seemed like she didn't care about that B+ anymore. So if you don't care about the B+ in 2022, why care about it or why be obsessed about it in 2017? Anyway, eventually we are going to not consider it significant. If not, why consider it significant right now? So all such experiences are impermanent in nature. If we hold on to it, it is our mistake. So that's what the example Amma sets. And we have again discussed Amma's example a zillion times now. How Amma, when she went onto the stage to accept the Gandhi King Peace Prize bestowed upon Amma by the United Nations. Amma didn't go up to the stage telling, yes, I did it, and ran and took the trophy and ran around, jumping around, screaming around. She just had a smile and she accepted it humbly. The same Amma when she lost Amma when Amma's biological father, Sugunachan, passed away. Amma was not wailing there telling, oh, I lost my father. He's the one who gave the house property for the ashram. The very first ashram was where Amma was born. He's the one he's the foundation of this ashram. Oh my, I should cry about it. That wasn't Amma. Amma was again the very same smile that she had. So situations just don't drag a Mahatma into the emotion of that very moment. They are ever under control. Situations are under control. Their emotions are ever under their control. So they ever remain equanimous because they know all these experiences are impermanent in nature. So they have the courage to face the situation. And We also discussed, actually, when we were discussing about equanimity, we discussed this particular passage from Amma's biography, page 162. I thought it is worth just going over it once again. It's always nice to hear Amma stories anyway. So I'll just quickly read the passage from Amma's biography, page 162. It goes as, in those days during the Devi Bhava, during Bhava Darshan, after the Holy Mother revealed her oneness with Devi, she would come out from the temple and dance in bliss. One evening, the miscreants came to Idamannel with a basket full of poisonous thorns. So this is talking about some of the rationalist people local to that region, how they were against Amma and against people, getting attracted towards Amma and following her. So they were against that. So they tried all their wits to stop Amma from giving darshan. So it is in that context. These thorns were so sharp and poisonous that even if one pierced into a person's foot, he would fall down unconscious. The thorns were entrusted to a group of local children who had been instructed to scatter them on the ground where the mother always danced. This was to be done during the Deeparadhana, when Amma waves the camphor, Deeparadhana, so that all the attention would be on the Holy Mother and not on the children spreading the thorns. This is exactly what the children did. When the mother emerged from the temple, she gave an intimation to the devotees about what had occurred and admonished them not to move from the place where they stood. With that, the mother began her ecstatic dance while holding the sword and the trident in her uplifted hands. The dance of the mother was an awe-inspiring sight. The devotees felt as if Mother Kali herself, the destroyer of evil, was dancing before them. She was dancing along the veranda at the front of the temple when suddenly her sword severed the strings which held the pictures on the wall. They came on the ground with a crash, scattering broken glasses all over the veranda. Unmindful of the hazard, the mother continued dancing, all the while trampling the broken pieces of the glass as if they were merely flower petals. Those who had come to endanger the Holy Mother were wonderstruck at the sight, but still waited full of hope to see her feet bleeding full of thorns and to witness Mother collapsing on the ground, unable to bear the excruciating pain. Now the mother stepped down from the temple veranda and came right to the place where the thorns were being scattered. She drew a line on the ground with the tip of the sword and forbade anyone to cross over it. With that, she stepped over the line and danced for a long time, trampling the poisonous thorns. The miscreants could not believe their eyes. They now became extremely nervous, seeing the blood-stirring sight, and immediately left the place. When Sugunanandan, Amma's father, realized what was happening, he began running here and there, full of dread, thinking of his daughter's wounded feet. He came with medicine to treat the wound. But much to his astonishment, he could not find even a trace of a scratch or a prick. Although the so-called rationalists witnessed many such miracles with their own eyes, they were not ready to relinquish their envy and enmity towards Amma. From the standpoint of the villagers and the devotees, the extraordinary happenings all around the mother were a source of wonderment. But for mother, even abiding in supreme reality, these events were just all child's play. When some of the devotees came to her full of depression due to endless stream of harassment imposed on their beloved mother by the unrightful miscreants, she told, "Children, there is no world without two. We should not be bothered by these things. Mother's devotees are all around the world. They will not be deluded by these actions." So these are the last word. Amma says, children, there is no world without two. So the very teaching of the Bhagavad Gita verse that we discussed. World is going to give us experiences dual in nature, good and otherwise, pleasant and otherwise, pleasant and unpleasant. And we need to understand they are impermanent in nature and just face them, not escape them. If we escape them, they're going to haunt us at some other point of time. Rather, just face them. And Amma gives us that teaching through example, through being in such situation and enacting the way we should enact. Again, being equanimous is, and with the experiences of life, we have discussed this, again worth discussing this analogy once again. It's like a jar filled with candies of various shapes, two shapes, round and rectangle. Say we are fond of the round ones and we hate the rectangle candies. And it's a narrow opening of the jar, we put our hand inside into it, and now we are trying to grab as many round candies as possible because we love round candies, good experiences. So we feel the first candy, it is round, we try to grab it. We feel the next candy, it is rectangular in shape, we let go of it. The next one again rectangular, we let go of it. Another one round, we grab it. Another one round, we grab it. We grab as many round candies as possible. Now once we have grabbed all the round candies, we try to take our hand out of the narrow opening. What happens? Because of the candies, the hand doesn't come out of the opening. When do we get true liberation, true freedom? When we let go of both the rectangle and the round candies. When we let go of both good and bad experiences. That's when we are truly happy. True happiness is not about having only good experiences. True happiness is about letting go of good and bad experiences and just be equipoised every moment. So that's the situation that we need to get into. We don't get into that situation, we are in a state of hell all the time. Hell or heaven is not what we get after death. That is one part of it. Hell or heaven, Amma says, we don't need to be dead for that. Hell or heaven is right here. We create them. The more we are entangled in with the six enemies, the more we are engaged with the six enemies, more hellish situation that we create. I'm reminded of during one of the tours, we were driving in a car and we were supposed to have a 10-hour drive, and we were going to a particular place, and one of the persons who I was driving with was super excited about going to this particular place. He was just raving about how beautiful that place is, the people there, the food there, and he was in cloud 9 telling, we are just going to heaven. This drive is so beautiful. I'm so happy, I'm so excited about this drive because I'm thinking of where we are getting to. This person was just probably in cloud 9 or cloud 900 or 99. He was so excited about this drive. That excitement was what? Created by his own attitude. But then, just as we were about to leave, we found out there was some confusion about accommodating people in the cars. So we had to accommodate one more person in our car. And we did have space for one more person. So that person had to get accommodated. And who was this person? He was the person, this excited person in the car hated the most. And this person's excitement just completely fizzled out. He was no more happy. And for the next 10 hours, he was in hell. He just couldn't enjoy the scenery. He couldn't enjoy the food stop that we had. He couldn't enjoy the dinner that we were supposed to have after reaching the destination, just because he had to share space with this person he didn't like at all. So what created hell is his 6 enemies within him. His dislike about that person out of whatever, be it because of jealousy, be it because of greed, be it because of any of the 6 qualities that we discussed. Some one of it created that hell for him. Similarly, the verse is talking about hell, or it's talking about the hell. It says, the last line of the verse says, Te pachyante naraka nigudha. They are cooked. They are, tormenting in this hell, which is so difficult to understand. This incomprehensible hell. Why is it incomprehensible? Because we think hell is around us. Hell is not around us, rather, hell is right within us. We are the ones who are creating the hell. Like the Bhagavad Gita verse talked about. Your enemy is not around you. The enemy, the person he hated the most came into the car. But the person wasn't his enemy. Who was his enemy? His own self, his own 6 enemies within. They were his true enemies. So we need to understand it is right within me, not around me. So even there, we need to understand our true self. So it's like, you're thinking of the problem elsewhere rather than where it truly is. It's like how a son was awaiting his father to arrive for dinner that one particular evening. And the old father, he was always concerned about his driving because he was old. And while he was waiting for his father, he watched on the news that there's a huge traffic jam created on the highway that the father is supposed to come. He got all the more worried about the father now. And they found, the news said, the traffic jam is because one person is driving on the wrong side of the highway. And he got all the more worried about his father. He immediately tried to call the father and wanted him to drive safe. Look out for anyone who's coming on the wrong side. He didn't want him to come and hit his father because he's old. He may have, slow reflex. So he didn't want his father to get into any unfortunate situation. So he immediately called his father and said, "Father, someone is driving on the wrong side on this highway. Please be careful." And he says, "What do you mean someone is driving on the wrong side on this highway? Not one person, everyone is driving on the wrong side on the highway." Why? Because the father was the one driving on the wrong side, not others. So he says, not one, everyone is driving on the wrong side. Rather, the father was the one driving on the wrong side. Similarly, it's not the others and things around us where the problem is. The problem is right with us, within us. The enemies are right within us. The Arishad Vargas, the Shadripu are right within us. So we need to tackle them, not let them grow. When we don't let them grow, that's when the true me is what we would experience thereafter. So the 23rd, 24th, 25th, and 26th, it was finally coming to this very point. Try to understand your true self, not with respect to others and other things and people around you. Rather, understand your true self for who you truly are. And one inhibition or one hurdle for that is our ego, are the 6 negativities that come out of our ego, our self-centric thought. So rather than having a self-centric thought with the small s, we need to make it self-centric with the capital S. So our spiritual journey is from being self-centric with the small s to the self-centric with the capital S, right? From the small s self to the capital S self. Because the small s self is with respect to people and things around us, what we have, what we possess, the things that I have, the people that I have, etc. Whereas the capital S is mighty irrespective of all these. So that's where we need to get to. And the third line of the verse says, Atma Jnana, that knowledge about the self. Vihina, Atma Jnana Vihina Moodha. One who doesn't have that knowledge about your true self, one who doesn't realizes one's own true potential is foolish. Right from the very beginning. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam, Bhaja Moodhamate. Shankaracharya was referring to someone as foolish. Oh, foolish one, try to develop devotion. Try to develop, let go of your ego, is where it started from. And here also the repetition telling one who doesn't realize one's true self is a foolish one. But when we talk about realizing our true self, we shouldn't be deluded even there. Sometimes we may feel that I know my true self. I'm already there. We may already be there. I'm not disputing that. But more or less, more often than otherwise, it is a deluded feeling that I am already there. Even that is a problem. So when you talk about Atma Jnana, we are talking about true Atma Jnana. We may think, oh, I feel the peace of mind, I'm already there. I don't get disturbed by the situation. This, when we are trying, if we feel like that, we should equate ourselves with the story of Sadashiva Brahmendra that we discussed again during Bhagavad Gita. He was someone who was always known to be in that state of oneness. And how did he prove, or how did people understand that? The king of that the kingdom thought he was just, it was just a show off. So Sadashiva Brahmendra would just walk around in loin cloth, and he would just keep telling Sarvam Brahmamayam Re Re Sarvam Brahmamayam. Oh, everything is the divine. Oh, everything is the supreme. Everything is one and the same. And he would just walk around, completely oblivious of what is around or who is around. Once, being in that state, he was just walking. He walked into the king's palatial grounds, and the king was so upset that someone trespassed into his ground, into his property. So the one version of the story goes that the king himself went, or another version of the story says he sent his one of his guards, and they went and attacked Sadashiva Brahmendra, and they chopped off one of his hands. And Sadashiva Brahmendra still kept walking as if nothing happened. For him, one hand is nothing. When he says Sarvam Brahmamayam, he truly means because one hand is gone and you're still in that state. So we need to equate ourselves with that, in such a state. Are we in that state? If not, when we say, oh, I'm so blissful, I'm so peaceful, a mosquito comes and bites us, that bliss may just disappear. Can very well disappear. Or a honeybee comes and bites us, the peace may completely disappear. But here, we are talking about someone who is in that state, whose hands were chopped off, and that didn't make a difference to him. That is the state we are talking about. So when we say Atma Jnana, let us be aware that we are not deluded by that thought, that I'm already there. That Atma Jnana is when we completely let go of the sense of ego. So we are definitely there. We are there little by little, little by little. Every time we feel I feel peaceful, I am least affected by the situation, very well. I feel we should really be happy that we are getting to that state. But is that the ultimate state? Probably not. That's something we need to really verify before we take pride in that. Because they say Atma Jnana, self-realization. No one can be self-realized. Technically, going with the sentence self-realization, because it's a paradox on its own, telling I am self-realized. Because when I am self-realized, the I is no more there. Then how can I be self-realized? So when you say self-realization, I is no more there. So I am self-realized is a paradox, because it just cannot happen. So I can never be self-realized. So that is the state we are talking about. In that state, that I is just not there. So let us conclude this topic that we have been discussing for 3 weeks now, 3 sessions. We need to get to that state. So let's quickly summarize 23, 24, 25, 26, the things that we have discussed. We discussed about the question that need to arise within us is who I truly am. Who am I? And that who am I, rather try to understand who I am not, because we are so bound by things and people around us. So who I am not is what the first question is. Try to understand the me irrespective of things and people that we are associated with. That's number 1. 2, we were discussing about the 24th and 25th verses we were discussing about. Try to understand. The second step is to see the divine in everything. That would help us get over that inhibition that we would have. And 3, see yourself in everything. And then the 4, see the self in everything. And today we were discussing what stops us from doing that. The 6 enemies that are right within us. The problem is not outside, the problem is right within us. Stop these enemies from breeding within ourselves. Lust, anger, greed, delusion, desire, arrogance, pride, competitiveness, comparison, envy, jealousy, stop them from breeding within us. That's when we would get to the state of Atmajnana, understanding our true self. Unless and until we get to that state, we are ever going to get cooked in all these different situations that we face. So I think let us conclude it here. It's 8:30, exactly 8:30. So we can conclude our discussion here. Because it's 8:30, should we chant the verses? So anyone who would want to leave, feel free to do so. And those who want to stay back, we will chant all the 26 verses that we have discussed so far. Om Amriteshwarya Namah. So let's chant together. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudhamate, Samprapte Sannihite Kale, Nahi Nahi Rakshati Dukrinya Karane. Mudhajahi dhanagamatrishnam kuru sadbuddhim manasi vitrishnam yallabhase nija karmopatam vittam tena vinodaya chittam. Nari stana bhara nabhidesham drishtva maga mohavesham etan mamsa vasadi manasi vichintaya varam varam. Nalini dalagata jalamati taralam tadvajivitam atishaya chapalam vidhi vyadhyabhimana krastam lokam shoka hatam cha samastam yavat Toparjana sakta tavam nija parivaro rakta paschajivati jarjara dehe varta kopina prachati gehe yavat pavano nivasati dehe tavat prachati kushalam gehe gatavati vayau deha paye bharya bibhyati tasmin kaye balastavat kridasak tarunastavat taruni sakta vruddhastavat chinta sakta parame brahmani kopina sakta kate kanta kaste putra samsaroyam ativa vichitra kasya tvam kah kuta ayata tattvam chintaya tad iha bhrata satsangatve nissangatvam nissangatve nirmohatvam nirmohatve nischalatatvam nischalatatve jivan mukti वयसि गते कः कामविकारः शुष्के नीरे कः कासारः क्षीणे वित्ते कः परिवारः ज्ञाते तत्त्वे कः संसारः मा कुरु धनजन यौवनगर्वं हरति निमेषात् कालसर्वं मायामयमिदम् अखिलं हित्वा ब्रह्मपदं त्वं प्रविश विदित्वा दिनयामिन्यौ सायं प्रातः शिशिरवसन्तौ पुनरायातः कालः क्रीडति गच्छत्यायुः तदपि न मुञ्चति आशावायुः काते कान्ता धनगतचिन्ता वातुलकिं तव नास्ति नियन्ता त्रिजगति सज्जन संगतिरेका भवति भवार्णव तरणे नौका जटिलो मुण्डी लुञ्चितकेशः काषायाम्बर बहुकृतवेषः पश्यन्नपि च न पश्यति मूढः उदरनिमित्तं बहुकृतवेषः अङ्गं गलितं पलितं मुण्डं दशनविहीनं जातं तुण्डं वृद्धो याति गृहीत्वा दण्डं तदपि न मुञ्चति आशापिण्डम् अग्रे वह्निः पृष्ठे भानु रात्रौ चुबुक समर्पितजानु करतलभिक्षस्तरुतलवासं तदपि न मुञ्चति आशापाशः कुरुते गङ्गासागरगमनं व्रतपरिपालनम् अथवा दानं ज्ञानविहीनः सर्वमतेन भजति न मुक्तिं जन्मशतेन सुरमन्दिरतरुमूलनिवासः शय्याभूतलम् अजिनं वासः सर्वपरिग्रह भोगत्यागः कस्य सुखं न करोति विरागः योगरतो वा भोगरतो वा संगरतो वा संगविहीनः यस्य ब्रह्मणि रमते चित्तं नन्दति नन्दति नन्दत्येव भगवद्गीता किञ्चिदधीता गङ्गाजललव कणिका पीता सकृदपि येन मुरारिसमर्चा क्रियते तस्य यमेन न चर्चा पुनरपि जननं पुनरपि मरणं पुनरपि जननी जठरे शयनम् इह संसारे बहुदुस्तारे कृपया पारे पाहि मुरारे रथ्याचर्पट विरचितकन्थः पुण्या पुण्य विवर्जितपन्थः योगी योग नियोजितचित्तः रमते बालोन्मत्तवदेव कस्त्वं कोऽहं कुत आयातः कामे जननी को मे तातः इति परिभावय सर्वमसारं विश्वं त्यक्त्वा स्वप्नविचारं त्वयि मयि चान्यः एको once more चैमयि चान्यत्रैको विष्णु व्यर्थ कुप्यसि मयि यः सहिष्णुः भवसमचित्तः सर्वत्र त्वं वाञ्छस्य चिराद्यदि विष्णुत्वं शत्रौ मित्रे पुत्रे बन्धौ मा कुरु यत्नं विग्रहसन्धौ सर्वस्मिन्नपि पश्यात्मानं सर्वतोत्सृज भेदज्ञानम् कामं क्रोधं लोभं मोहं त्यक्त्वात्मानं पश्यति सोऽहम् आत्मज्ञानविहीना मूढाः ते पच्यन्ते नरकनिगूढा. So let's conclude sincerely praying to the Almighty that every being in the creation be happy, content and peaceful. Let's chant together. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Hari Om. One last thing before we conclude. I had the couple of submissions for the assignment that we had from the last session. We were supposed to discuss how do we see Supreme in all. I didn't discuss that today because I forgot to put it in, put your response on this slide so that you could read. So we'll do it the next week. In case you were wondering why your submissions were not read out. So we'll do that the next week. Om Amriteshwariyai Namah.